Hello, people of the internet. Thank you for joining us today on a special AMA where we're sitting down with our dungeon master, our game master, our story writer, everything and all above, Jax. Jax, thank you for taking time to sit with us and answer a couple of questions.
You're
We're
welcome. I'm
really
not
looking
nervous at
forward to
all.
this. We're gonna flip the script on you a little bit, but before we get in there, there's a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, if any of our viewers have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll try to get to them. If you make a donation to Extra Life, which is our partner for Children's Miracle Network this month, where we're trying to raise funds, click that donation link, make a donation, ask your question, and Jax guarantees an answer. Whether that's a direct answer or not,
You may
kind of
get an
depends on the
archway
question.
answer, but you'll get an answer.
So if you want your guaranteed question, pop that donation link. Children's Miracle Network is a foundation meant to provide funds to families that need help with medical bills, travel bills, food, everything in between for children that need major medical intervention with tumors, cancers, many of the other medical concerns. So please help us raise money. We've got a goal. Let's hit that goal. And if we don't have anything else, Jax, do you have anything before we get started?
Nah. Let's go.
No?
Let's do this.
All right. So we'll get right in there. I have. So we'll start out kind of easy.
Okay.
What brought you to D&D there, Jax?
I mean, my answer's the same as everybody else's. So, Adam and I were living in different cities. We were living in cities that were like 4 hours, 5 hours drive apart. And I was driving up to Hamilton every couple of weeks, well, once a month, twice a month, to visit. And one day he sent me this message and he said, I have found a new stream. And now, if you don't know Adam, you might not know that he finds new things constantly. So I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Another one of his flash in the pan things he gets obsessed with and then it moves on. But he was watching Critical Role and I was visiting. And I was like, I had never played D&D. I had never really had any particular interest in it. Really, although a couple of my friends who played were like, you'd really like it because it's basically collaborative storytelling and that's your jam. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun, but it seems like there's a lot of maths and and Adam was watching the Kavan episode. So when they were down in Craghammer fighting the Beholder, and he had it on while he was making dinner. And I got invested. And then we had to keep watching it during dinner because I wanted to know what was going to happen. And then I went home and started from the beginning and proceeded to catch up. And then I got invited to a friend's house to watch their D&D game because they had an ongoing campaign, and she had gotten wind of the fact that I was getting curious about it. I was getting D&D curious, so she invited me over, and I watched these guys play, and I was just like, this shit is awesome. So I bought the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. And because I'm me, I was like, well, I want to play, so I guess I'll just make a game. So I homebrewed a world, having never played D&D before in my life. Invited a couple of friends over, and I was like, look, I've never done this before. I'm going to just give it a go. And we played a bit, and then I got even more hooked. And then I started the original, the OG Gallant Horde, which was a little group in Wellington of me and a few of my friends, which Artbeck was in that original game. And the whole concept was because we were inevitably struggling with that scheduling thing, right? So we were like, we're going to make this guild, and then each one will be a one-shot. I'm a short story writer. Like, that's when I write. That's what I write. So one-shots make sense to me. And yeah, I never really looked back. And then I got sucked into Critical Role to the point where, critic gifting happened, and I got quite involved in the community and all of that jazz. And then here we are.
Okay, so we'll kind of dig into the Horde a little bit in a little bit, but I want to kind of touch base on something there. You talked about critter gifting. Now that's where you and I met. Yep. I helped out with one of your elves, and so what got you to start critter gifting? I know it's been talked about by the cast. I know the cast
Yeah,
is aware of it.
they sent us a gift one year.
How did you? What started it?
Honestly, it started the way all my things start, where someone in I think the fan group on Facebook was like, "Hey, we should do a Secret Santa," and I was like, "I've done Secret Santas before. It's just some spreadsheeting. How hard can it be?" At the time, I didn't have a job. I was freelancing from home. Um, so I went, "Okay, yep, I'll give it a go," and I did the first one solo, so just me and Excel. And it was insane. It was like, I think the first one had like 200 people in it, which was the biggest I'd ever done at that point. So and then we were like, okay, well maybe we'll make a little Facebook group where people can like do exchanges the whole year round, right? And then Justin came on board with that, and he was helping me run it. And it just exploded. So when we did our second Christmas, it went from 200 to like 500 people. And I got an email from the social media person at Critical Role, and she was like, "Hey, we know you're doing this thing. We'd love to be involved." I think it was that year. It might have been the third year. I'm not sure. One of
Wow.
those early years anyway. And I was like, "What the fuck? That's crazy. Cool. All right." Um, 50% of Jax's backstory is in fact, why not? Let's give it a go. And they wanted to be angels because they didn't want to get gifts. They just wanted to give something. So we basically set them up as one of our angels, and we didn't tell anyone. So one of our critters got a gift directly from the cast as an angel. I think they did 2 that year, and then they also sent one to me and Adam for running it. That's where the shirt came from, actually. I'm pretty sure my Mighty Nine shirt came.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. Like, they sent us a little video thanking us for our work, and it was one of those like surreal moments where you're just like, how is this my life? I just did this because I'm good at spreadsheeting. What the fuck is happening? Yeah. So it just exploded, pretty much.
So
And now it's a thing.
so you had the horde exploded. You have critter gifting exploded, and then you also have Wolfelnewt, which I know Wolfelnewt. I have friends of mine that aren't part of anything D&D.
Yep.
They aren't part of anything Horde, Critical Role. They don't watch it, and they'll
Yep.
send me things about Wolfelnewt.
Yep.
How
Yep.
where?
It was the same. Like, so I post a lot of cute shit my kids say. Like, that's just part of who, and at that point in my life, I was doing a lot of social media things because I was trying to do writing and I was trying to get it, publishing. So I was doing a lot of social media stuff. And I would write these little stories about cool things that he said, because kids say cool shit all the time. And he came up with this idea of this holiday dedicated to people who are nice to dogs and wolves and animals. And honestly, he was trying to tell me about it for like 3 weeks, and I kept putting him off because he would always approach me and eventually I was like, okay, tell me about this thing. And he told me, and I was like, actually, we should just do that. That sounds like fun. It'll be like a little thing our family does. It'll be awesome. And so I posted it on Facebook, which is what I do with cute things my kids say. And I have a friend who is involved in like the pagan community in Philadelphia or something. And he was like, hey, can you make this public so I can share it with my friends? So I did. And the next thing I know, it was insane. I was getting phone calls from the radio station. I got approached by like newspapers in America who wanted to interview me. I think I did an interview for like the Chicago Tribune or something. It was just bonkers. I got emails from George R.R. Martin, sent him a signed book. Like, it was just mental. It was mental. I remember sitting on my kitchen floor just going, fuck, what the fuck? Like, because I was just so overwhelmed by the situation. It was insane. And it's never, every year it kind of as those memories, and people start reposting it like goes up again. We wrote a book. The kid wrote a book. Which, because I publish books, that's a thing I do. We turned into a book and published it, and we sell it every year. Like, we always have a little peak around September, October, November. Bonkers. But it was the same. It just, and I was like, okay, well, what do we take all this energy and we try to do something with it. So we tried to channel it into charities for animals and, that kind of stuff.
So then how does it feel, as you sit back and kind of look, how does it feel to know that you had a direct impact on these major things that have grown into across the globe?
Still kind of surreal. Like I still don't feel any different to what I was before, really. Like every now and then someone's like, "Oh my God, you're that Jax!" And they like get all fangirly, and I'm like, "What are you on about? I'm just a person. I just like." It's very weird. It's very weird.
It's
I'm not used to it.
it's astounding what we can create and what we can do,
Yeah.
and
And
the communities you've put together.
to be honest with you, most of the time I feel like I'm just the conduit for it. Like Wolf and it wasn't my idea, it was my kid's idea. And people took it to heart and turned it into something. Credit gifting only works because there's this amazing community of very generous people around the world who invested in it. And it's the same with the Horde. The Horde would be nothing if the people involved in it were not invested in the story and invested in each other and in the community. And so I feel like I just put up scaffolds and other people fill them in. Like it's not me, it's you know.
That's the second time you've said that to me. When we had my interview a couple of weeks ago for our tour, you said you put the scaffold and you let the people fill it in.
Yeah.
But the people can fill it in all they want. The scaffold's got to be strong. So that has to say something to you.
Yeah.
You mentioned it there. Your child created Wolfenute.
Yep.
I also know that your children have helped you with some of the Horde things.
Yep. Yep.
What? Let's see. Oh goodness, where is it? Where is it? I had something. What was your favorite thing that one of your children has provided to you for the Horde? This is a multiple part question. So for the Horde, what was the favorite thing that one of the children provided? And this question comes from Kit.
It's actually something that we never ended up using. It was something in the Cult of Oberon house. The go and steal the letters from the Cult of Oberon house. There was a stuffed stag's head that was animated in the guy's study that was an alarm system. And it was this sassy, is well sick of humanoids and their bullshit thing. But the only person who went in was Indigo, and Indigo wasn't visible at the time, so it never triggered. So I have that as a homebrew thing, but yeah, I never got to use it because it just didn't arise as a thing. But that was pretty fun. He comes up with a lot of stuff. He's a very imaginative child. Some of them are more usable than others. The game we have not yet played, called the Magic Box, is full of things he has made up, which is going to be amazing if we ever get to it. But so far, people have avoided that one for some reason.
So now they'll really, hopefully, this will spike interest in it, because they're going to be like, "Ooh, what did the child create for us?" That's
Yep.
I know. Every time we go in, when you tell us this is something that your kid did, I know I get excited for it.
Yeah. The two
So,
younger ones haven't gotten as involved with it, but they also don't live with us full time. So, um, I'm sure if we gave them half a chance, maybe I'll
oh,
just
I'm
do a
sure.
completely kid one. I'll sit the three of them down and get them to create a game.
Oh, that's that could be dangerous.
Mm.
I don't know if I'd be more scared of that one or a Zook mission.
I mean, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh yeah, that's true. The middle child, the 9-year-old, did do the audio in one of our games live.
Oh.
He took over. Adam had to go to the bathroom or something, I don't know, but he took over and was running Sirenscape for us.
There you go. Get them started young. You gotta teach someone so Adam can take a break every now and then, right?
That's right. That's right.
So we'll grab another question here. This one's from Noah.
Okay.
Which Horde storyline are you most excited to see play out? There's a lot of them. There is a lot of them.
And I'm a little bit. The one that I'm most excited about is what if Oberon refuses to play nice and we have to figure out another way to balance it? Because I have a plan. But that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
That's one that I've had a lot of I've dropped a few things here and there, but I don't know if they've been picked up. Um, yeah, I always enjoy. I've also obviously enjoyed the riddles. I always enjoy it when I can drop a few things and then watch people grab hold of them and run with them a bit.
Mhm.
So the riddles have been fun because I know obviously the answer to the riddles, but
Yep.
watching the people who've been wrestling with that go through this process of trying to figure it out and then having to, like, when they go completely off track, having to figure out ways to pull them back so that they to like try and direct them in the right way. Um, it's
So,
yeah.
shameless plug here. If you haven't gotten to see the riddles, if you haven't gotten to see some of the story, join the Horde. Come see what we do. We're
Or
always active
subscribe
on
on
Discord.
Twitch.
Or
You can
subscribe on Twitch.
subscribe on Twitch.
Absolutely.
Subscribing on Twitch means that you get access to all those channels, even if you don't want to play. So,
Yeah, come check out the story.
um,
Oh, goodness. So
yeah.
we're gonna bounce around a little bit, try to keep it real here.
Mhm.
Now you've homebrewed a bunch of items. You said yourself
Yes.
you're a story writer. You homebrew
Yes.
stories.
Yes.
I'm sure you've homebrewed cursed items.
I
What
have.
is your favorite cursed item?
I mean, at the moment, my favorite cursed item is a mystery to the Horde because they only just got hold of it. It is called the Amulet of Umbani, and it's delightful. And it is currently in Edith's pocket.
And to my knowledge, I don't think anyone knows it's in Edith's pocket
No,
other than
no one
Edith.
knows it's in Edith's pocket except Edith. So that's fun. I've also enjoyed Artor and the hammer, like playing with that and the back and forth on that one. It's not cursed exactly, but like there's definitely some in there.
Mm-hmm.
Although that wasn't me, obviously. That's a canon D&D item. We've just tweaked it a bit.
Well, we got to make it our own.
Um, I always enjoy making things that cause story stuff. Artor's sword was frickin' amazing for that. Like it caused so much
Oh,
angst,
Ardbeg's
and then
sword.
Ardbeg, sorry, yes, Ardbeg sword.
Too many A and R's.
Ardbeg sword was just that was so much fun. Um, but no,
And
I think this amulet is one of my favorites in a long time.
we've had that sword in the Horde for a long time. It took
A
us
long time,
months
yeah.
to get it cleaned out. And
Yep.
do you
And even
regret
that,
it?
the process of getting it uncursed was just so delightfully story delicious. Do I regret
Yeah.
it? No, no, I don't, because Artbeck has had such an interesting like redemption arc.
Mm.
Um, and all it means is I can throw bigger things at him.
Yeah, true.
You know.
That's very true.
And
So you
also,
mentioned
the day is coming when I turn Ardbeg with a possession or something, and he fights his friends, and it's
Oh,
gonna, and then I'm gonna just sit back and laugh.
what do you mean the day is coming? We already had that day.
Yeah, but that was before he was a level 15 paladin.
So you mentioned character arc there. That's gonna bring us back to another question from Kit. What has been your favorite character arc so far?
Oh, that's an impossible question. That's like
It
asking
really
who your
is.
favorite child is. It really is. I have obviously enjoyed Artbeck just because he was like I knew Artbeck back in Wellington before any of this was a thing. So it's been fun to watch him go from being that grizzly old fighter who doesn't want to be friends with anyone to being an actual leader. Like that's cool. Erden's arc has been very interesting.
Mm,
That's been a lot of fun to reveal gradually over time. Um, there are so
I'm
many, and there are so many that are still up my sleeve. Like I
mhm.
have a lot to do with Tess still, and Tess has got there's a lot of stuff there that is going to be entertaining. um,
Yep. Oh, definitely.
uh, obviously the Cora thing was fun. Um, God, there's so many. There's so many. It's impossible. Like I can't pick one. I think the story lends itself to people being able to really play on their ability to grow their character as much as they wish. Um, and there have been a lot of people who've done that.
Mm.
Artos has been interesting. Um, even Hella, like Hella, when Hella started, she was this obnoxious, cranky, hates everyone, suspicious of everything. I'm just going to throw fire at it if it looks at me funny. To something much more nuanced than that. Like, she's still kind of that, but she now has this wife that she loves, and we've seen this much softer side of her. And she's
I do
gotten way
believe.
more in. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I do believe we have a comic somewhere of Hela having a tea party with chickens.
With her chickens, yeah. Which is really cute because I happen to know that Jamie actually has chickens. So, um, yeah, like they've been so many, it would be impossible to pick just one, I think.
That's fair. You have a lot of characters in the Horde. So
Yeah.
then, how about this? We'll kind of edit the question a little bit to make it easier for you to maybe pick. You've
Mhm.
created countless NPCs.
Yeah.
Your favorite character arc from your NPCs, then?
Annabelle and Carnon,
Annabelle and
definitely.
Carden.
Yeah. They started out as nothing. Like they were just random NPCs in a game, and then Jean-Luc brought Carnon back to the realm. And he became this much more fleshed out being. And he is polarizing, which makes him interesting. Like there are people who love him and people who really, really loathe him. Because of the way he is. And I've enjoyed experience like playing with his, he's a total frickin' slut. He'll shag anything, but it's not about the sex for him. It's about knowing people
Mhm.
and experiencing people. So he gets just as much joy out of sparring with someone or having a long conversation until dawn with someone. Like those are all the same in his head. Um and so he's been a fun character to play with. And then Annabelle's story connected to the lady. Like I have a lot of stuff in my head about that relationship because they were lovers and now they're
Mhm.
not. But there's still love there. It's just something else.
Mhm.
Um and they have returned every now and then. I bring them back because I can't let them go. They're just so lovely. And I imagine that they're just like roaming around on the high seas, doing their thing, and every now and then they find something that's interesting and they're like, we should go back and tell them about this. Um, but yeah, those two have grown from being very one dimensional to being like complete people in my head. So I have a real soft spot for them.
Okay.
But
So
also
maybe
Billy. Billy's pretty great. I don't know. Like
Ellie's a
I love
fun
them
one.
all.
Okay, so we just got a donation in. So
Mhm.
we're gonna jump this question right to the front. This comes
Okay.
from username Level One Gamers.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, yep. Her question or their question: if you were a goblin, what would your goblin name be?
Very good at naming things. I always use naming generators for a reason. Um, if I were a goblin, I would probably be. Oh, that's a really good question. If I were a realm type goblin, I guess, because they are a bit different to the standard D&D goblin thing. Um, I would probably be a introverty animal like Melon, but not the same as Melon. Um, I guess like if Marla was a goblin, there's a lot of me and Marla. So, following that train of thought, it would probably be something like Sprout or Twig or I want to say Spigot, even though that makes no sense. I'm going to go with Spigot because that's what my heart
Spigot?
said. It makes
I
no
like it.
sense, but Spigot. I would be
I like
Spigot.
it. No, that's a good one. That's a fun one. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for the question.
And a
So
shout
let's.
out to Level 1 Gamers because they do a lot of fucking cool shit. You should go and check out their shop.
Yes, you should.
Just
I
saying.
love their shop.
Yeah.
My wife has one of their coffee mugs. One of their many coffee
Yeah.
mugs.
Lisa sent me a Percy DeRollo custom coffee mug for Christmas one year, and
Ooh,
it's still one of my favorite mugs. I love it.
hmm, nice. So here's a question from Shanali,
Hmm.
and maybe you already answered this question indirectly. Who's your favorite NPC?
Oh, you're asking me to choose between my children again.
Not me. Not me.
I mean, we spoke about this a bit even before the stream. Shadow was my first D&D character. Shadow is now Zook's minder / apprentice / protect him from himself. She is a tabaxi sorcerer. She has been in my head for years, long before any of the Horde stuff happened. I played her in our home game for a while until we gave up DMing home games and just let Cat DM for us, because trying to do the Horde and also other games is a lot. So I have a real soft spot for her just because she's been around a long time and she was my first foray into a PC. So she's probably my favorite. Technically, she's now an NPC in the realm, but she still feels very PC to me in my heart of hearts.
That's how I feel about Amnon, so I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
So while we're on the trail of making you pick your favorite child, we've got a question from Alex.
Yep.
It's your favorite D&D monster.
I really love the what are they called? The Lost, the Sorrow, the whatever. You know those guys?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what they're actually called.
There's a group, a name for them as a group. Which are the wretched. They're like Shadowfell creatures. And I love them because they're just basically made of that. The Sorrow Sworn. There we go. They're basically made of that, like whatever that emotion is, but dialed right up. And I find them very interesting because they're not bad. They're just created of despair of one kind or another. And so I'm a big fan of villains that are complicated, that are not just straight, these are bad guys. I like that to be morally ambiguous because it makes it more interesting to me. So I enjoy just how terribly sad they are as creatures. They're quite fun.
Yeah.
Again, it would be hard because as soon as I say that, I start to think of lots of other things I also like. But they're up there.
We're good.
They're definitely up there.
So the next one comes from Kyle. This is, we'll go with this one. Is there a mission that we've done in the Horde that you would have changed after we played it, or even thrown out totally?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's been something interesting in all of them. I don't think there's anything that I'm just like, nah, that was a complete fucking waste of time. There have been a couple that were more sloggy than I like. I try to mix up the combat and RP to try and make it interesting to watch and interesting to play, because if you just watch 3 hours of combat, it's not great. But there's nothing off the top of my head that I'm just like, oh no, that was terrible.
Well, that's good.
No, yeah, like I feel like all of them have contributed, even the ones that I wasn't super happy with at the time. There's like a whole, I'm not sure there's anything I would have completely thrown out. Some of the more heftily combat heavy ones I probably would have tweaked so that they weren't so, see the thing, fight the thing, see the thing, fight the thing. Because pacing is hard. Pacing is a very difficult thing to get right, and it's only in the last like maybe 6 months that I've started to feel like I've really got a handle on managing that properly. You'll know from your game the other day, it's fucking hard to get it.
Definitely.
Yeah, like so some of the earlier games just were not, like, they weren't paced well, and that was just me learning how to do it, But that's, I guess, the reason I don't want to throw any of it out is because it's all part of the curve, Like, I only get to the point where I can pace properly because I do this week in and week out and week in and week out. So,
now
get a feel.
What about your birds of a feather ones? We've talked about the Horde.
Yeah.
Your birds of a feather. So far, we've done a couple of them. Have you enjoyed one of them more, or are you more excited about one of the ones that we haven't done yet?
I really enjoyed the one that was full of ghosts and shadow beings. Was it clerics? I think it was clerics.
That was clerics.
Yeah, I really liked that one. That was a lot of fun. I managed to get some monsters that did some pretty hefty damage, and it was like the right amount of scary, I think.
Hmm.
So I enjoyed that one a lot. I also quite liked the monks, which were in the like big um dragon cult
Mm.
cavern place. That was quite fun. Um, but I've enjoyed all of them. Birds of a Feather was a shower thought. It started as a shower thought. What if we made a party that was all one class? What if we did that for all the classes?
Wow. Yeah. See, look at shower thoughts coming in clutch.
I have a
So,
lot of shower thoughts.
so the sticking on the missions. Another one from Kit.
Mhm.
What did a character do on a mission that totally surprised you? I bet you I know which one you're gonna pick.
Oh, there've been a lot of those. There've been a lot of those. I feel like I should have like gone over all the missions before I did this. I mean, Jean-Luc bringing Kanan back was a big one because that set up obviously the Kanan and Annabelle storyline, which has become much bigger than it was ever intended. But also the thing where people constantly bring back strays until the point where we had to be like, okay, you need to stop. We're actually this is an OPSEC thing. Like you need to stop bringing back everyone you find. So there was that. Also the Basilisk one where Greth just snuck in, rolled beautifully, and just put the Basilisk in the ball fast asleep, and the Basilisk didn't even notice him coming because you rolled so high in stealth. That was pretty great. I had a whole combat there that just got thrown out because he
Yep.
Um I think Artor bamfing out of the dragon thing was one. Because I didn't think Artor would run away from that fight. But he did, and it was the smart move, but I still was a little like, oh, okay, cool, we're doing that then.
It was, yep. definitely
Zenashi
a hard
saying the
decision.
lady's name within the first 5 minutes of the game was pretty great. That amused the crap out of me. Did you see that one? Where
I
Zen was like,
didn't.
we're here working for the Lady Bellatrix. They were all back in the throne room.
Oh, goodness gracious.
That was great.
Whoops.
That was great. That was the which one was that? I don't even remember now. It was one of the more recent ones, but yeah, it was the most beautiful moment because I've been waiting since the beginning of giving people that code word for someone to do that, and the fact that it was Zen, kidnapped child. There we go. The fact that it was Zen, who's like this really rational, intelligent being, was just beautiful.
Perfect.
What did you think I was gonna say?
I thought you were gonna go with the Indigo and Artor.
Oh shit! Yes,
Yeah,
that
I
was a
found,
thing too.
like you could.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could imagine it from Artor, kind of, but probably not so much from Indigo.
Yeah, that was a moment. That was definitely pretty cool, especially from a story point of view. It was funny because that story, I had a whole thing that I had planted with Cora's friend Saray being one of the and it just got completely overshadowed by the Artor Indigo thing.
Mm.
That was cool. That was a cool moment.
So we got it. We got another donation in.
Cool.
I'm not sure if this is the username, but username French Baldman.
Yeah, I wonder who that is.
Gee, I don't know. If the characters were not unkillable like they are, would you let a TPK happen, and what would your reaction be?
Would let a TPK happen. If the characters make stupid choices, like there have definitely been missions that have been very difficult and they've been built that way. The Archmage's Tower is an example. Like I definitely had a time limit in my brain. It was designed to sap them of all their magic before they got to her. Like we had designed it to be very difficult. If the characters make decisions that put them in that position, like for example, walking into a dragon's lair all in a line,
No one's done that.
then there are consequences for that. And I am not going to pull my punches on those consequences, especially given how buffed the Horde always is, and how many advantages they have. If they fritter away those advantages and make stupid choices, then there will be consequences for that. I wouldn't deliberately TPK a group because that just seems shitty. But if if they make dumb decisions and put themselves in a position where that's going to happen and that's how it goes, I'm not going to back away from that. I would feel really bad about it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I feel really bad about Brainy. I would feel shit about it. Like, I would be sad because I love the characters as much as you do, but that wouldn't stop me from doing it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, so far, everyone's proved unkillable, other than Brainy. R.I.P.
Poor Brainy.
I really do feel bad about that one.
Yeah.
So, speaking on TPK and character death, another question from Shanali. Have any of the missions gone the way you planned them to go?
No. Honestly, I don't actually plan. I'm very much a sandbox girl, so I don't really plan what the players are going to do. All I do is build a scenario and see where they go with it. I do a lot of seat of my pantsing, probably more than people know. I make a lot of shit up on the fly. So I suppose the answer is also yes, in the sense that I don't really have expectations. Like, I think with the earlier games, I tried to like plan it out. This is going to happen, then this is going to... But it's much more fun when you're just like, okay, this is what is happening in the situation. We're going to put these people in and see what transpires. You know? That's more interesting to me.
Oh, definitely.
What's the point of collaborative storytelling if I've got the whole story in my head? That's boring.
Yeah. I think the common used term is railroading.
Yeah, like, it's just not fun for me.
Yep.
Why do it? Yeah. I do it a little bit more with Birds of a Feather because it's a much, like, there's no greater story arc, so you've got to get the whole story told in that time. But with Horde games, it's very much, okay, well, this is the mission they've been given. What situation are they walking into? And then I create the situation. And I create the people in that situation and the creatures in that situation, and then just roll with it and see what happens when we put these 6 people, whoever they are, into that mixing pot. What happens? That's my approach. So
okay.
So no, but only because I don't really. I'm like, we'll see. We'll see. It's a surprise to me too, every week.
Here's one from me, which is one that I have. We haven't had it happen yet. It almost happened. What happens when they fail a mission?
Well, we'll have to see.
There you go. See, that's all the more reason to chime in and come see what happens if they ever fail a mission.
It's not occurred yet, but yeah, you'll see, I guess.
That's definitely
it's come close once or twice.
Ashufa's Barrows was really close.
The dragon, if you had not rolled that nat 20 on your perception check, you wouldn't have known where the horn was, and that would have changed that game completely. Adam says they don't get paid. I mean, that's true. They won't get paid, but... Yeah, the Archmage's Tower was that they only succeeded that on a technicality because Harper wished at the last minute. Like, yeah, there've been a couple that were very, very, very close.
Okay.
But yeah, so far they've always technically fulfilled the brief, so we will see if it ever occurs.
So we've got one from Alex here. If you could take over one Horde character for a day, who would it be and why?
Oh.
That's a hard one.
That's a good question. Probably either Jean-Luc, just because of the connection with Artagan. I think that would be interesting, especially if Kyle continued to play Artagan. Or Indigo could be interesting. I don't think Sean Lee would let me, though. I don't know. Like, I feel like all the characters are very... The person who plays them is built into who they are, you know? Like...
It's hard to take a character that you didn't make.
Yeah. And do them justice. That is a tricky one. Maybe Bomber. I could wreak some havoc with him.
Oh yeah.
There's no one that springs to mind because I'm already juggling so many characters, right? I don't even have time to play the ones I
So many
have.
characters,
Like,
so many gods, so many. You're just doing everything.
I know.
So here's one from Kyle then.
Mhm.
We've talked about, moments in game that maybe surprised you. What about in the Discord? Was there any moment in the Discord that you had to set your phone down or step away from your keyboard or sit back and say, "Wow."
Oh,
Ooh, this one's got
the
you thinking.
the Zook the uncursing the sword thing.
Hmm.
That was a big one because I went to bed and I said to Adam as I went to bed, "You need to do the Zook sword thing. It'll be fine. You just need to not roll in that one." And then I went to bed and Adam rolled in that one, which is why that whole thing went the way it did. Um, so that was a big one. That whole scenario was big. I think the exorcism with Garen, when Garen exorcised the tiefling that you brought home from a mission. Someone
Bringing
brought
home
home, whoever it
strays.
was. Yeah, you were on that mission, weren't you?
I
That was
was
the
that.
that was the Oberon mission. Yeah.
That was the Oberon
Um.
mission.
Yep. That was a bit of a like, what the fuck are you trying to do thing, but players gonna do what they gotta do, and you just gotta roll with that. Um. So those are both. There've been so many though. The whole Artbeck Indigo arc was huge.
Mm,
Like that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking.
that
Um,
hurt to watch.
yeah, that was very well done on both of their parts. Like they
Mm.
both played that so beautifully, but it was heartbreaking. Wasitum after Brainy died was also just like, oh, my heart, ouch. Um, I don't know. There's so much good stuff. Like this is what I mean. I just built the world, and then you all just make so much delightful drama. So good. Um,
Now, we're going to zoom back out a little bit. We
okay.
zoomed in on the Horde. We're going to zoom back out. What is. So, D&D has tropes.
Hmm.
You all meet in a tavern.
Hmm.
You're all adventurers. What is your favorite trope to use to get people going in a game?
Like as a starting point,
Yep.
I like to put people who don't know each other into a high stress situation. So, I mean, Birds of a Feather is a classic example of that. Like
So
that's
like
what
how
we
you do
do
your birds
every
of a
single
feather.
yeah. You take people who have never met, who don't know anything about each other, and you put them in a situation where they have to work together, or they're all going to die. Um, because it just brings out such beautiful drama between people immediately without any preamble. Like when you're in a high stress, life-threatening situation with a bunch of strangers, how do you behave? What do you do? How do you proceed and survive that situation? And watching people's different ways of tackling that, depending on their character, is always interesting to me. So that is always a fun one. Um, yeah, that's probably, but yeah, variations on
That's
that would be
that's a
mine.
good trope. It's a great way to get people working together real quick because
Yep,
if you don't
yep,
use the right start,
yeah.
they ain't gonna work together.
And if you put
Why?
them in that situation, they're already bonded. Like you don't go through that with people without some kind of connection, even if it's I loathe this person, but
No.
hatred and love. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely,
yeah, I think
definitely.
that would be my favorite starting point, is something that does that.
So Shanali wants to know: do you have any pre-game rituals?
Um, Kind of like my game day morning is definitely set out in a particular way. Like I get up and I caffeinate, and then I spend some time doing my morning stuff, feed the animals, you know, have a shower, feed myself, all that jazz. Um, I guess the big one is I restart my machine, which is
Hmm.
not just about restarting my machine, because I always have a million things open. I have spreadsheets open for exchanges I'm running. I have usually there's at least like 10 D&D Beyond tabs open. Discord, my inbox, everything just piles up. There's usually several notepad files with notes of various things going on. So I close it all down and restart, and then when I restart, I only open what I need for the game. And I think that kind of helps my brain to clear out anything that's not connected to this particular story. And it lets me kind of just focus on this tale that we're telling right now. I
Okay.
probably need some dice rituals because my dice hate me, and maybe if I give them some attention, they will. I've started now picking pallets. Like I've done that the last couple of
Picking
games. I
pallets
did
is a
it for
good one.
Shadow, and then I did it for the Lightning, and that clearly worked because the Lightning game went really well for me. So maybe I'm gonna keep doing that.
My favorite one is I take a D20, set it on the top, set it at the D20, and I will tap that 20 times. My
Oh wow!
justification behind it, you're putting oil on the 20, you're going to put extra weight on the 20, there you go. That's whether that works or not.
Yeah. I'm not naturally a very superstitious person, so I don't have any like dice things, but I do that like clear reset because that kind of helps my head.
So
I
that
don't.
leads me to a totally different question.
Mhm.
You just said you're not typically superstitious, but to my understanding, you have a background in folklore, right?
I do.
So
Yeah.
folklore is a lot of superstition, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not really my interest in it. Like, so I have a master's degree in children's literature. That's what I
Okay.
have. And that had a big folklore component, as you would expect, because fairy tales and all of that. I So my interest in it is less about the superstition and more about the narratives humans create to make sense of their world. Because we are meaning generating machines, human beings. We love to see meaning in everything. Which is where superstition comes from, right? You see a black cat walk across your path, and then later on you get fired from your job, and your brain connects those two things, even though there's no logical causal connection between them. Humans have this capacity for connecting things. And I think that is a lot of what folklore is based in, is making stories to make sense of a meaningless world. Which it's like positive nihilism, right? If nothing matters, then you create your own meaning. And I think that D&D does a lot of that. I think that we do a lot of making stories to help us work through our own whatever we have going on. People make a lot of jokes about how D&D is therapy, and it is. I mean, you should also go to a therapist if you need therapy. I'm just going to put that out there. There's nothing wrong with that, and it is a good way to deal with your stuff. But stories are powerful, and I think that is where my interest in folklore comes from, because we have these universal tales that cultures all over the world tell over and over and over and over again, and the same tropes come up. And I don't think that's because there's some well, there is some deeper meaning, but what that deeper meaning is that there are certain human experiences that are very universal,
Mm,
and we all need to understand them, so we all tell stories that are that explain them in some way. Does
okay.
that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So that's the
then,
angle I come at it from.
with your background, and as you've gotten more and more into D&D, just with my little bit of knowledge on folklore, I see a lot of folklore influence in D&D.
Of course, yeah.
Where do you think is your how do I want to word this question? Where do you think your favorite and we're using a lot of favorites because
Yeah.
that's kind of we don't
Keep
get the
making me
opportunity.
choose. I
We
have an
don't get the
ampersand
opportunity.
on my arm for a reason. I'm an and girl. Anyway,
Then
carry on.
your the folklore that you've seen in Wizards of the Coast material,
Mhm.
which do you think has been your favorite to see them transcribe over into a playable game?
I mean, Witchlight. Like the Fae stuff. There's a reason that our whole story is based in Fae stuff. Is because I love that shit. Um, so yeah, that like Fae stuff is definitely a
Mm.
big one for me. Fairy tale, like fairy tale tropes are my bread and butter, man. You've probably noticed. Um, I love those like where the Fae is not little Tinkerbell fairies. They're this dangerous, like complicated, um almost political, but just a little bit too chaotic to be really political kind of vibe. I love it. So yes, that was probably my favorite one to see appear. I was like, yes, give me that Baba Yaga lore. Like, yep, definitely the face stuff. Surprising no one, I'm sure.
I'm sure
I
you
would-
surprised someone.
I would love to see more not Western stuff. Like, I grew up in Africa. I would love to see more actual African folklore showing up in D&D, because there is so much beautiful stuff there to play with. And I've played it, like Umbani is definitely influenced by that. But I've played with a little bit. The Druids of Ajala were very much influenced by my growing up in Africa. So I would love to see more of other, not Western based folklore appearing in Wizards, just because I think that there's so much material there. And I realize it's tricky because of appropriation issues and like how do you do that respectfully, and it is a challenge, which is probably why they haven't done it, but I feel like it kind of whitewashes it in a way that is unfortunate because there's so much depth and awesome stuff, like
Untapped potential.
yeah, like let's have some of that. It also would, I'm just putting it out there, it would not be that hard to find someone in Africa and let them create that shit so that it's not appropriative, because you actually are letting the people whose stories it is make the thing. Doesn't have to be white Americans. Just putting that out there.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Like I really think that there's so much potential to create depth. But it involves having to bring in people from those cultures to make it work respectfully and properly. But it would be cool to see.
So we've had a lot of fun building the story that is Titania and the overthrowing or rectifying the balance back in the Fae. And you've given us as players a lot of freedom with our characters. You know, you don't really know what you're signing up for until the character actually kind of fleshes out.
Yep.
Has there been any backstory reveal that has made you go, oh, wait a minute?
I don't really go, oh, wait a minute. I go, ooh. Like Erden's one, right? Erden was pushed out of the Feywild by her parents, and she had this like weird Fey connection that she couldn't explain, and I was like, girl, we can play with that shit. So that's usually my response is more like, ooh, I could do something with this. I've noticed that there's definitely been an uptick in characters coming into the Horde who already have the Fey connection, especially from people who are familiar with the story because they want to like weave it in. So that's been happening. Zinri is one. Andy is one. I know you have a character in the wings. I know Gavin has a character in the wings. Like there's definitely a bunch of. There's been a movement towards that, which is cool. But yeah, it's also fun to bring someone in from something completely different and see how they deal. But yeah, it's much more of a. I'm a yes and person, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, that's not going to fit with my story. I'm going to be like, how do I make that fit with my story?
Yeah, definitely. That's so
how do
let's
I
take a
weave
minute.
this?
I don't see, we're just gonna throw that out there. We've been chatting for a little bit now. Remember, chat, if you have any questions, you can pop them into chat. If you want a guaranteed answer, make that donation to Extra Life. We've had a couple of donations, so thank you everybody so far. I can't guarantee the type of answer you'll get. She did just get done saying Faye is her favorite thing. But if you have a question that you want to see
I'm not
answered,
actually an Archfey, but I play one on TV.
I mean, goodness. So we've got. Let's see. Who do we want to hear from again?
Does the lady know the mistress?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one coming in from Dave.
I feel like it might be spoilery though to answer it. The lady knows a lot of things and a lot of people. I will say this: the mistress knows the lady.
Okay. Okay. So I'll go back to Lisa's question with your if you were a goblin.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Our resident favorite goblin, Scrat, collects
Mhm.
buttons.
Mhm.
If you were a goblin, would you collect anything? Books. Fun fact that I heard somewhere, I don't know if it's true or not. It only takes 1,000 books to be considered a library.
Oh, well, then I'm a library. Definitely have 1,000 books easily. Yeah, no, I definitely like to collect books. I mean, I suppose also minis. We have a lot of minis in this house for people who play most of our D&D online.
you
Um,
gotta
but
have more.
but yeah, books are definitely my particular kryptonite. I love them, and I have a lot.
So we're gonna zoom
I
back
have
out again.
Mystical, just not as fucking weird. Mystical's all will.
Everything that Miss Ickle has done has been wonderful.
Yeah, he's done an amazing job with her.
Ooh, we got a good one from Lionel.
Hmm.
There hasn't been an overtly evil aligned PC yet. Would you let one join the Horde?
It depends. How's that for a Fey answer? The lady would let someone join the Horde if she could see a use in them, and if she believed that they would not damage the whole. Because she is not. I think she's probably veering closer to good, but she's much more neutral than anything else, and she's very pragmatic. So, for the most part, she has shown herself to be kind and generous and all of that stuff towards Horde members. And she does care about them, but she's also deeply pragmatic. So she would do whatever it takes to meet her goals. I think that if she has made allegiances with people who were very morally ambiguous, in order to serve her goals. I don't think she would allow anyone who she thinks would hurt the Horde. But she would also probably be able to mitigate that to some degree just by her sheer power. Like, if she couldn't get them to behave based on moral reasons, she could probably get them to behave based on their own self-interest.
Just turn Gur on them.
So yeah, exactly. So I think that the answer is very much an it depends. If she could see the use in it, she probably would.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see how the Horde handled that.
Would that be seen as a flex of power, or would that be seen, oh, yeah, interesting?
Because her attitude would be 100%, what are you bringing to my table? What do you have to offer me? And what do you want in return? And yeah. And she also would not, like, as has been evidenced by some of her conversations with Harper, if she gave someone power and they used it for evil, she would feel responsible for that and she would deal with them accordingly. So she's not averse to, okay, I'm going to use you for my ends, but if you become a problem for me, I'm going to deal with that.
Okay.
So
we got another one in from chat. You're gonna love it. It's another favorite question.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite world of the material plane to have players play in or characters play in?
I mean, my own. I have, like, Azurahi has come up a lot recently. And that's a homebrew world that I have, which is where Annabelle and Kanan come from. And a lot of the places I send people to are in my head on that world. So that's probably my favorite because it's mine and I can make the rules as I see fit. But if you want me to pick a canon D&D world, the answer is not really. I have only ever really, the only game I've ever played that is our current Curse of Strahd game. And Barovia is shit.
Barovia.
So
Yeah, well, I don't know what you're talking about. People are just dying to get out.
I play a assassin rogue who is a halfling, and she is this blonde thing who wears pink dresses and likes cocktails and is very vibrant, and she's stuck in Barovia. And she hates it, man. She's like, where the fuck is the sun? She comes from like a little seaside town where she drinks, daiquiris on the beach, and like, yeah, she's not impressed with Barovia. My teammates are awesome though. Domamu plays in that same game, so he's
So
like, we rock.
we just got
Um,
another donation from Will. Thank you, Will.
Woo!
If you want to pop your question in the chat, or if you want to shoot me a message, we'll ask your question. We'll get you an answer. So it kind of brings another question there, talking about the lady would feel responsible.
Mhm.
When the lady sends people out on these missions, she often gives them control. She has recently started saying, collateral damage, let's avoid. If anything were to go wrong on the mission, would the lady blame herself or her adventurers?
She wouldn't blame herself because she's hired these people to do a job, and she expects them to be able to do that job, and to manage their own business. Like she treats them like experienced adventurers because that's what they are. I think that if there've been one or two games where the DM, deliberately misled the lady about what she was sending them into. So, like Titania's one, for example, that was a deliberate choice on my part. Like the lady thought this was a milk run, and it turned out to not be at all. So for those ones, she feels bad in the sense that she feels like she hasn't done her job right if she's not giving them the right information. The same was true with the Ring of Winter to some degree. Like when she learned about the curse, she was like, "Oh shit, this is a thing." But they got that information in advance because of Marky and blah blah blah. But I think that yeah, you pay contractors to do a job, and it's up to them to do it right. And that's pretty much her attitude. Is if they understand the risks, they know that if they're walking into this, it's a dangerous job. They get extremely well rewarded for it. So it's not like they're not getting danger pay, right? Like, so you mean thanks to Marky? Yeah. So I don't think she would take it on board too much. She's been around a long time.
So I got Will's question.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a
He said
thinker.
it's controversial. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a thinker.
Uh-huh.
So, with involving players from around the world, you're going to have kind of sometimes clashing views. How do you think, and how just your own personal opinion, these clashes that may lead to disagreements, how do you think that affects the overall story? Or do you, as DM, as leader of the realm, squash it and not allow it?
So I think that it is inevitable when you're dealing with A, players from all over the world, and B, characters from multiple worlds across all of the D&D everything, multiverse, that there will be clashes. I think that is just an inevitable thing. We do what we can to mitigate the interplayer stuff, to try and make sure that people are not being dicks to each other, I guess. I think that to think that everyone is going to get on is just naive and ridiculous. It's not going to happen. But I expect people to be grown-ups about it. To expect characters to all get on is ridiculous and naive, and it's not going to happen because you have 40, 50 people, and in character 40, 50 beings from all sorts of backgrounds who are inevitably going to have differing worldviews. I think that it is a responsibility of the players to be able to separate those, to be able to go, well, my character hates this person's character, but that doesn't mean that the players need to. And I think that when the players don't get on, that's kind of their job to manage as much as they can. Like if you're in a workplace, You don't get on with everyone, right? That's normal. You have to manage that and be professional. So it's kind of the same. There's an expectation that you're going to be able to be grown-ups about it. And when it doesn't happen and people can't figure it out, I will frequently go in and try to mitigate that and talk to both parties and see what I can do to try and smooth the feathers and try to find a resolution that's going to work for people. And sometimes it doesn't. And I think that it would be probably naive of me to think that I can always fix it, because some people are just not going to let that happen. And then they have to, I guess, make a choice about whether they are willing to do what they need to do to work in this space, or whether they are not willing to.
Yeah,
we have never explicitly kicked anyone out at this point, and I hope we
that's
never
good.
do.
That's
But we have had people leave, and that has been a choice they've made, and that's fine. That people need to do what they want to do for themselves, and that's cool. But I try very hard to like mediate between those things when I need to. But for the most part, to be honest with you, I expect people to be adults and sort it out themselves. And if they can't, then we'll do what we can. But you can only do so much.
that was a great question. Well, that was a real thinker. That's a good one.
It's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. So it's not that hard, actually, because it's been in my head. But yeah, like where my responsibility lies. And I think my responsibility ultimately lies to the community and to the audience. So if I feel that someone is damaging the community, I will say so. But it will usually be in a hey, this behavior is a problem. How do we fix it? What can we do to make this better? At least that's what I try to do. I'm just a person, so I fuck it up sometimes, because people do. I also have feelings, and sometimes they control my responses. But I try very hard not to respond in that state and to come back to it when I've calmed down.
So we've got a couple of questions in chat that I'm really looking forward to these ones. So one of our new members of the Horde, I don't know their actual name, but their username, Monk Key Magic.
Yep.
Who would the lady send in if a cleanup crew was required? Which I do know there are a couple of missions that have needed cleanup crews, and there's
6 people, right?
Yep, 6 people.
So if it's a cleanup crew of the kill everyone, leave no survivors variety, Eclipsis, Ardbek, Artor, Hela, Bomber, Murmur. If it's a cleanup crew of the we just need this to be a diplomatic, soften all the stuff, Indigo, Elena, Miz, Eden, maybe Zen, and maybe Tess.
Okay.
Because I feel like those are the people who, the combination of logic and diplomacy and the ability to, frankly, manipulate people into doing what you want them to do would work really well.
That's very true. That's good cleanup crew. I know a couple of missions have needed cleanup crews. I know there's one that needs a cleanup crew soon. That we'll see that.
You want a red dragon on the other side of that fight when we get there?
No, nobody does. So, given that the lady considers the Horde on the level of contractors, how does she and you, Jax, feel about some of the way that they regard her?
So I wouldn't say that's accurate. I don't think she feels about the Horde that they are just contractors. I think that she expects them to behave that way when they're on missions. She expects them to take responsibility for their own work. However, she has, despite herself, found herself quite fond of this weird ragtag family that she made. Her intent with the Horde was to create a band of mercenaries. Her intent was to collect people who she could send to fight her war for her. That was her goal. But in the process of doing that, she has kind of accidentally along the way become quite fond of many of them, and they have become a family. They have become something else, especially given that she was exiled and she was, separated from her source of power, separated from her people. These have become her people, so she does care about them. She is Archfey though, so what that means to her is probably different to what it would mean to someone who was mortal. She knows they're all going to die before she does. She knows that. So, and that's just part of being who she is, that anyone she cares about who's mortal is going to die before she does. So that's just part of the landscape for her. And whether that's tomorrow or in 50 years, really on a scale that she's dealing on, it's a bit like, same. So for some people, she tries to keep them around longer, like her. She has ways of extending that, but it's as for how they feel about her, I think that's a mixed bag. There are people who are extremely loyal to her and would do just about anything to help her, and there are people who seriously distrust her still, and she's kind of cool with both. Like, she gets why people distrust her. She's a freaking archfey. Of course she's not trustworthy. On a certain way of looking at it anyway. She can be trusted to be who she is, and that is her attitude towards everyone else as well. They can be trusted to be who they are, and what she tries to do is be very clear about who they are in her head, so she knows what to expect.
Okay.
But she's not that worried about what people think of her as long as they
do their job,
fulfill their side of the deal, and they will, because you can't get out of a Fey deal very easily.
True. So we're getting some good questions in chat right now. I'm enjoying some of these ones. Will coming in hot with another one.
Uh-huh.
If Gur died today, gone, and Oberon was marching on the realm, who would the lady champion?
Who would be her champion in Gur's place? It would probably have to be Eclipsis at this stage, because Eclipsis is the highest level fighting person, really. She does a truly ridiculous amount of damage. Her paladin, Zook would be her. She wouldn't choose Zook. That would just give him a big head. Can't have that. His head is big enough. No, it would likely be Eclipsis, because if you want to survive something, you want Eclipsis to be the person in front of you. Ardbeg would be a close second, though. I think once Ardbeg hits level 20, that'd be a very tough call to make, because I think that they're both extremely powerful beings. And the idea of a champion is someone who you send in to fight for you. So you want someone who can fight fucking anything. And yeah, those would probably be her.
Do you think Eclipsis would do it, though?
I don't know. Eclipsis's warlock patron is Mab, the Queen's sister, which means that as long as they're fighting Oberon, the two things align. Mab has told her to protect her sister, so the goals align. But as soon as that battle is over and Mab is no longer necessarily on Titania's side, then that becomes a bigger source of conflict. Because at that point, Eclipsis might have to choose between this family she has formed and her patron.
Be a hard choice.
Mab and Titania are not always on the same side. They just happen to be right now.
Yep. So how did you, Jax, feel about the rise of the dissenters?
It was amazing. That was so great. No, it's so great, because it like, conflict is the seed of story, right? Like, that's beautiful. I feel like that Elena's questioning of the lady and her motives forced me as a DM to really think about the lady's motives and what she was trying to do, and that influenced an awful lot of what Titania became in this story. So it was great. It was great. I love it. I love it when people question her, because it makes it interesting. I love it when they when they just call it like, yeah, no, it's great. I love it. And
Now,
honestly,
what is
she kind of does too, because it keeps her honest, and that's good for her. And she's self-aware enough to recognize that.
that was the next question. How did Titania feel? Because
Yeah.
obviously Titania knew it was happening.
Yeah,
There's no
well, she
way she
certainly
didn't.
knew. Yeah. She learned a lot from that interaction with Elena. She learned that it's better to win someone's loyalty than force it. And that was a very powerful moment for her, as a character, because that was where she changed direction a little bit and was like, okay, well, if I want the loyalty of these people, I have to earn it. And earned loyalty is much stronger than loyalty out of fear. So that
True.
was where that direction came from. And I think that has influenced a lot of the story since then. So, and she's not afraid to be questioned, is the thing. Like I said, she's been around a long
Mhm.
time. So she has made mistakes and been corrected on them. She has fucked things up and had to fix it. So that's not scary to her. You know, that's like when they question her, she goes, "Let me think about that," and then kind of, is this actually valid or not? So it's not something that really bothers her.
Okay. So that kind of leads us into another question, the thinking about it. Has there been a moment where the lady's been genuinely afraid of a mission outcome?
The Titania's wand one,
Was
because
that
that was
before or
was that no, go ahead.
was that before or after you decided that she was indeed Titania?
It was before. So I mean after. When I was setting that game up was the moment where I went, what if she is Titania? What if that's what's happening here? Because they then took in an amulet that was her symbol to these people. That was the thing that was going to make them give up the wand and blah blah blah. So it was meant to be a milk run. It was meant to be go in, get the thing, come back out, and then it turned out that they had essentially triggered some kind of warning system, and Oberon's people were coming to get it, and so they had to flee. And they couldn't, and it wasn't as simple as just teleporting out. They had to get to like a thin place in the connection between the worlds and blah blah blah. So that was one where she believed she had sent them on an easy mission, and it turned out to be an almost deadly mission. Several of the characters nearly died. The only reason they got away really was because Eclipsis stepped in at the last minute. She wasn't meant to be on that mission, so that was a last minute addition. So that one, she was like, oh shit, sometimes things don't, like, that was very much she had always sort of thought of herself as being all knowing, and she suddenly realized, I don't actually know everything that's going on here, and I need to keep that in mind when I'm sending these people out. And make sure that they're equipped for the unexpected. So yeah, that was probably the biggest one. But she was already Titania at the start of that mission. That decision had been made in my brain.
Now, speaking on early missions, the lady used to send the adventurers out to capture and bring back creatures and animals and whatnot, and we brought them back to the Horde or the realm and put them in the menagerie. What was the lady's original plan with that?
It was a means to an end. So her plan was always to collect the people. Her plan was always to develop this group of adventurers who would like the thing she was collecting was the Horde. It was always the Horde. The sending them out to capture things was a means to strengthen them, a means to send them on these missions to make them cohesive as a team and all that jazz. The menagerie itself was never, it was a side effect. It was never the point, which is why when it became an issue, she was like, okay, we'll send them all home. Like, it didn't really matter to her. It was always about the people and not about the things they were collecting at that point. Which is why she flipped it a little bit when it became a problem. She was like, okay, cool, well, we'll send them on missions where they're doing good, because that seems to make them feel more
Satisfied?
like a team, more satisfied, more
Yep.
fulfilled, more like they're using their powers for good and all that jazz. So that's where, okay, we're going to rescue people, we're going to help people, we're going to do these things came from.
Okay.
And plus she's getting a bunch of favors out of it, right? Because if she sends her people in to help, then she's owed.
True.
So again, pragmatic, very pragmatic. It was like, oh, okay, well, I guess capturing things is not making them feel good, so we'll
Figure
switch
something
that
else out.
around a bit. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was never, the menagerie itself was never a goal. It was always a side effect.
So the realm,
Mhm.
the realm itself has evolved.
Yeah, it
It,
sure
it
has.
it started out as a couple of
The
huts that
realm is my favorite NPC. Sorry, carry on.
and the realm since saving the realm, I think, has really turned into its own entity.
Yep, yep.
What's going to happen to the realm when they're done?
It'll still be there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the lady has spoken about making it just like a sanctuary where people can go to stay for a bit if they need to, or a uh, like a central point, a headquarters. Um, but it is now its own thing, so it's gonna still be there. It's like a weird love child of Titania and Zook.
It's been fun to see how the realm changes and how it kind of bites back when it's mistreated.
Yep,
You know,
it's like a very very powerful child. Honestly, that is what it's like.
So we got a couple of good ones. Does Titania feel like some people are 100% unredeemable?
Yep. When she sends people to be killed, she doesn't think they can be redeemed. Merith Daedov probably can't be redeemed. Fibbeth the Void probably couldn't be redeemed. These are people who have had the opportunity to make choices and change their mind, and she has, and they have chosen not to. They have chosen to continue down the road of whatever the hell they were doing that was not good. So yeah, absolutely, there are some people that, in her opinion, should just be put down for the
Does
sake
she
of everyone else.
does she think Oberon's redeemable?
Yes, yes.
Interesting.
She hopes. I think she hopes that his awareness of the balance of things and his awareness of the the fact that the worlds actually need both of them is going to override his jealousy and his arrogance. Um, Jax disagrees with her, and I'm pretty sure that Gur disagrees with her, but she still holds out a small hope that they're going to be able to find a way to work together. She is planning for that to not be the case because she's also not an idiot. But
hmm
yeah, she has some small hope that they're going to be able to figure it out.
Okay.
But I yeah.
So Alex coming in with a. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say there will be dice rolls and there will be conversations and there will be a lot of factors that play into how that plays out. I have not written it off as a DM because I never write anything off. And characters, shit happens in Dungeons and Dragons and things. But I do, in my brain, have a plan for when that inevitably fails.
That segues us great into Alex's question
hmm
with shit happens.
Yeah.
How does the lady feel about the things people have risked or sacrificed on missions, such as Harper risking their magic to cast Wish on the Archmage's tower, or the Crook of Rao team giving up something important to each of them?
Adventurers do their jobs. And how they choose to do that job is their choice. The lady's very big on choice. Her and Zen do not agree on the fate thing. She's very big on choice, and she believes that if people choose to sacrifice something for the mission, then the mission means enough to them for them to make that sacrifice, and they are making a choice. And that's up to them. And it would be disrespectful of her to question that. If they're making that choice, then that is it disrespects them and diminishes that choice if she doesn't accept it. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yes, it does. Okay. Interesting.
Which is a very Faye point of view, but yeah.
Oh, this is a really good one that I'm curious about. This is zooming all the way out to
Uh-huh.
Jax looking at everything.
Okay.
All right. This can
Yep.
be, this can be a question for critter gifting, for the Horde, for Wolfelnu. Considering the amount of RP, missions, NPCs, and everything that goes into everything that you take, what tools do you use to keep track of everything and keep everything coherent?
Remember the Milk is a app of lists, and I have a very complicated system of lists that I use to try and make sure that all my balls stay in the air. It doesn't always work because I still only have a limited number of hours in the day, but that is a big one. I use it constantly. Um, I have many notepads of notes, both digital and physical. Um, I have a folder on my computer called Secret DM Things where I dump stuff that I need to remember. um, as far as the world building goes, honestly, most of it's just in my head. Um, the story is cohesive in my head, so I always know what people would do in situations, and I always kind of know what's happening with Oberon at any given time. I know kind of where he's at. So anything that arises, I can put into that framework because the framework is just there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have any of that really written down. I have like the Azurahi, continents and where things are. I have written down. I have NPCs and how they fit into the whole, kind of written down in the various folders for the various jobs. But a lot of it is just in my brain, to be honest with you. And on Remember the Milk and Google Calendar, like those two things are my keep everything structured place. But yeah, it's a lot of the story stuff is just in my brain, and because it all just exists there as a world. When I get asked questions, I know I just know, who your family is and where the supermarket is. You know what I mean? Like the same. It's just there.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a lot of work that you've got to try to keep all together, and just the fact that you're able to do it. I know a couple of us have little spreadsheets. Do I know this character? Do I know this
Yep.
character? When did I meet
And I
them?
forget things all the time. I also use Discord search a lot. I'm not gonna lie, to refresh on things. Like I will search for something and be like, "What did I say about this? What was this person's name? I just made it up on the fly, and now I need it again." Like, yeah, fuck for Discord because it's all there, right?
Mhm.
I've just got to go and find it.
So flashing forward, we're gonna go
Uh-huh.
forward in time.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself and the Horde in 3 years?
Oh Jesus. So Adam and I have been talking a lot about what happens after the final showdown between Titania and Oberon and where we go from here. And we have a plan, which I'm not ready to reveal yet. So I'm not going to
Ooh.
tell you what it is. But there is a plan for essentially season 2 and what that's going to look like. Logistically, we will probably limit the number of people who can be in the Horde at any given time, just because at a certain point it's going to get too hard to keep track of everything. And then it will be like if it gets to that point where we're getting loads of applications. I don't know if we're ever going to get there, but if it gets to that point, then it'll be like there'll be a waiting list, and we'll, as people retire, they'll actually have to retire, and we'll bring in a new character and blah blah. I personally would absolutely love to get to the point where I don't have to have a day job, where this can be my job, because I feel like I would do a better job if I could just do this and not be constantly pulled in multiple directions. Not that I don't enjoy my job. Like I have a really nice job and I enjoy it and I work with awesome people, but being able to do this as the thing that I do would be so cool. So that would be awesome.
Now
But I
you
think
have you have a couple of ways that you're trying to get there, right? You've got a Ko-fi, you've got a
yeah,
Patreon.
we do. So we have actually several Patreons. I have a Bardic Inspiration Jax Patreon, which is like an overarching everything Jax does sort of thing, where I post random shit in my brain and things that I enjoy and a whole bunch of stuff. which is hopefully inspiring to people. We also have a Sparrowball Patreon, and all our projects. So there's a Raven one, there's a Wolfenute one. They also we have really cool I'm going to just pull things out now and show you really cool patron rewards. So we have these cool like support stickers. These are the Wolfenute ones, and we have pins. You see that?
Oh yeah,
super cute. And I have someone in Tauranga who makes me patches. So the way this works is that you level up as you go along. So like when you've been a patron for a month, you get the red one, and then there's like the chromatic one, so it goes through the rainbow. You get red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then you get metallic ones, and then we get legendary ones after that. And then the level of patron you're at dictates what form your badge takes. So if you're a $1 patron, you get a digital badge. I think it's $10 for stickers and so forth.
okay.
So we have those for all the different projects. I guess if you wanted to support the stream, obviously subscribing to the stream is huge. That helps a lot. And then also the Sparrowball Patreon. And we have a Ko-fi or Ko-fi. I don't know how you're supposed to say it. Coffee. I say coffee because that's like it's done in coffee, cups of coffee. Which is, for once-off donations, which is normally where our donation link goes, but right now it's going to Extra Life because children.
Yes.
So those are the main things. It's so cool. No, it's an awesome thing, and I would love to get you to. We would love to get you to your goal of $1,000, folks. Make it happen.
We're getting there. We're over halfway there.
Yeah, it's cool. So those are the big. I guess the badges are really cool. If you like shiny things, you can get official supporter badges that you can't get any other way, and they do level up as you go. So, and that's a time thing. So month 1 is red, month 2 is, and then it like extends. Then the way that leveling up does in games too. Yeah, you can get 1 to 4 really easily, and then it gets harder. Adam has a plan for next weekend's game. He just needs to tell Jax about it.
Oh.
Cool.
I know Adam has a game coming up soon. I'm excited to see that game.
We haven't managed to schedule that yet. We need to get on that. But yes, we will definitely be sorting that out. He's going to DM. He's going to sit in the DM seat and send people on a mission for Zook. To Mamagar. Shadow's been to Mamagar. That happened in our home game before it.
Now, I've taken quite a bit of your time this morning. I want to come in with one final major question. We always save this question for last. I know you always save this question for the last. I'm gonna make it a little bit of a change.
Okay.
Of your NPCs, all of your NPCs that you have in the Horde, what is one of their deepest, darkest secrets?
Oh. Well, I think only one person knows that Billy is not human, because he appears human, but he's actually a changeling, so he can appear how he wants, and he chooses to look like his father, who, spoilers, is William Shakespeare. So he is the love child of William Shakespeare and Titania. But that's not really a secret, because that's been in the Discord before.
That's been in the Discord before.
The lady is still very much in love with Annabelle.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, it's not. It's reciprocated. It's more a situational thing that stops them than anything else, because the lady had a hissy fit when Annabelle went back to sea and lost her temper and got real upset about it. And Annabelle's not willing to go through that again, so she won't let it happen. But the feelings are definitely still very much there. I mean, Merith has many secrets, but I'm not telling you those until after the game of Rescue Game. Trying to think if there's anything really juicy. Shadow has stuff. Shadow, I think we might have spoken about it in the lead up to your game, but I don't think it's ever been made public that Shadow as a level 20 sorcerer, explicitly did not take wish as a spell because she has seen the damage that wishing can do. So she refuses to go anywhere near it. And she thinks that people who wish are dabbling in things they should leave the fuck alone. She has very strong feelings about it.
Look at what happened to Merrick.
Yep. She's not. Yeah. She doesn't think that wishing is a good solution to anything. She thinks that it is somehow both cheap and dangerous, and that's just dumb. Like, don't do it. I want to know all of Zook's secrets. I know some of Zook's secrets, but he's not my character, so I'm not going to reveal those ones. Marla. I'm trying to think of one for each person. Do not fucking say a word. Just say I'm not going to. They're not my secrets to tell. Marla doesn't really have a lot of secrets because she's a very straightforward person. I think that probably the biggest thing about Marla that people don't know that is relevant is that the place she grew up, the place she lives, the place she comes from has a very thin line between the material plane and the plane of the ancients. So Marla has had access to dinosaurs and fauna from that place and all that stuff. But Marla herself doesn't really know that because she just thinks that those are just animals that come from there. So she hasn't realized that that's what's happening. She just kind of thinks dinosaurs just happen sometimes. Because that's what she knows, and she's lived most of her life in one place. So it doesn't seem weird to her. So she doesn't know that secret, but there you go. I wonder if Jean-Lily's watching. She's going to be like, let's go talk to Marla. I don't know. Have I left anyone out who you want to know secrets about? I think that's the main ones.
I think you left the biggest one out of all of your NPCs that I think we're all dying to know their deepest, darkest secret. Scrat.
Scrat? Scrat really has secrets. He's also very much an open book. Maybe just that Scrat is always performing. He's always performing. And that there's like a deep well of sadness and grief about where he came from and the life he had before the lady. And we all want to know what happened at the book bazaar. I don't know, you have to ask Will that one. Yeah, that there's a depth of sadness there about where he came from, because he was rescued from a circus and he was not treated well at that circus, and then the lady rescued him. So his whole happy-go-lucky circus outward woo thing it's performing. He's a performer, and that's what he's doing. I'm not sure even Chelsea knows that, and Chelsea plays Scrat nowadays, but yeah, in my head there is a depth of like, there's depth there that a lot of people don't see because they just see the like, woo, circus goblin thing.
And Bernard.
And Bernard. Maybe Bernard gets to see it, I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today.
You're so welcome.
It's been very eye-opening for me. It learned a lot. Really excited to see everything going forward. You know, the world you've created, between Creator Gifting, Sparrowbell, Wolfful New, everything you've created, it's had an amazing impact on a lot of people. And I really
pretty
hope
weird for me. It's kind of cool, but I'm still like, whoa, how did this happen? That's crazy.
So thank you, chat. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us this hour to almost 2 hours. Make sure you check out the Discord. Make sure you subscribe to Twitch. Check out the Patreon links, the Coffee, Ko-Fi, whatever it is, links. You know,
however you say it.
Let's support Jax. Let's get her to where she can do this as a full-time job.
That'd be so cool.
She spends a lot of time with us.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mike,
you on,
for making us do this.
I
was like, you want to do what? Why?
My pleasure. I loved this. This was great. So thank you for joining us, everybody. I hope you all have great time zones, and we'll see you on our next stream.
Saturday.
Yeah.
My Saturday.
Saturday, New
When
Zealand,
apparently
Friday,
something
Eastern.
mysterious is going to happen that I don't even know about.
I guess we all better tune in to see what happens. Bye, everybody.